guys, it's Amber, and today's video is going to be an Ask a Stylist. Today we're talking about what the different types of salons you can work in are and the benefits of them, finding the right type of stylist that works for you, and answering maybe some of your questions on why it's so different in different places, why pricing is so different, those kinds of things. Hopefully I've got you covered. I'll try not to make this video too long, but it probably will be long because I could probably talk about this for hours. But anyway, we'll move on. First of all, yes, I cut my hair off. I decided that I didn't like the short layers in the back, and I cut my hair. So I did not cut it myself. I went on Instagram, found me a girl that I thought did really good hair. Bada bing, bada boom, my hair's cut. First of all, picking a beauty school. When you decide to go to beauty school, there are a lot of different things. There's going to be some that are a lot more higher priced, like a Paul Mitchell school or something that's attached to more of a name brand. And then you're also going to find private schools in between. You're going to have people who can privately, more like apprenticeship instruction, and then you're going to have more like community colleges. That's the route I went to because I found that in exploring the options, I couldn't afford to go to a college that was going to cost $30,000 a year. I just couldn't. And so I went to a community college, and it was a great decision for me. I feel like I got a good basis for my education, but it's all about continued education because as far as coming out, my state in Utah has one of the highest requirements to be licensed. So I had to go through 2,000 hours of training before I could be licensed. Some states require as little as 1,200, 1,400, 1,600, 1,800. It depends on where you live. So a lot of times when you come out of beauty school, it's really not so much about where you go. Yes, your basis is really good and you want to pick a good school, but some of the higher techniques are going to go over your head because it's like so much at once. It's like a fire hose. So you're like, whoa. So that's where continued education comes in, where you want to keep learning and progressing, because if you're not learning, then you're getting left behind. So starting out, there's going to be some people who just hit the ground running, who are like, I'm ready to take clients. I'm ready to do this on my own. And there's going to be some people who are like, I need a little more help. I want to be in a salon that can kind of coach me. I want to apprentice someone for a little while. So there's lots of different options as far as how comfortable people feel once they get out of beauty school. I feel like there's a salon for every stylist, and there's a type of salon and stylist for every person. And I don't think that one path is going to be better than another. There are paths that obviously make you more money, but I don't think that if you are comfortable in one avenue and someone else is comfortable in another, that makes it wrong. I think that as stylists and people, we should empower each other and encourage each other to do our craft however we feel most comfortable. And I don't feel like I should throw shade at somebody who works in a specific place because I feel like it's beneath me, like, you know, quick cuts types place. Now, if you're doing crappy haircuts, that's one thing. But if you're doing a great job and you like working that type of thing, there's nothing wrong with that. Just as much as if you like being a celebrity hairstylist and working in New York City, there's nothing wrong with that. So quick cuts plates are going to be like your dollar cuts, great clips. Some of those just give haircuts. You're going to find like sports clips. There's going to be places that just do men's haircuts, and those are usually walk-in based where people can just walk in. It's less expensive usually than what your normal salon is going to be charging, and you can usually just walk in, get a quick haircut, and that works really great for people who are just starting out, and also for people who just don't like to schedule. If you don't like to schedule an appointment and you don't have time to like call a salon, it's really nice to be able to walk in there and get a good haircut. I feel like you should be able to get a good haircut wherever you go, but you have to realize that in those places, they're usually more limited on time. Usually they try to say 15 minutes haircuts or 20 minutes, try to keep it a little quicker because they work on commission. And because they're charging less, they have to do more volume. But it's a good way to like get quicker at your skills and also to continue to learn and to start to build up your own style. If you're really into haircuts, I'd say go to some place that does quick cuts. But if you want to learn color, don't stay there long, because if you stay there a long time and you want to learn color and you're just doing haircuts, you're not going to leave because you're going to always feel kind of like you can't. Does that make sense? It's like if you're there for like 6 months and then go to a salon that offers color and like start building, because if you just start in a haircuts place, you'll probably always stay there because it'll be scary to make that jump. So just be brave, make the jump, find a salon that's good. Now, some places you work might require you to cut hair a certain way, and so that just has to be something that you decide. There's going to be some signature places, like say the salon is called Salon X. If you go to Salon X, they might want you to cut Salon X's way. So anywhere you go across the United States, wherever you go to Salon X, you ask for a bob, this is what it looks like. So you just have to find out what works for you. If you like cutting a certain way that's more directed by your salon, or if you like being more creative and having your own flexibility on how you cut hair. But if you're someone who is a little timid in hair cutting, having someone coach you and show you exactly how they want to cut hair can be really helpful if you feel like you need that. Next, you would have more of a barber type salon where they're going to do mostly men's cuts, mostly short cuts, and they're going to do the shaves. And I love classic barbershops where they throw the chair back and they've got the hot towel on you. They're doing a nice shave. And I feel like those are such a great craft. And I hope those don't disappear in the future. I feel like there's less barbershops than there used to be. But I think there's something really fun and nostalgic about a classic barbershop. So if you love cutting men's hair, I think that would be a great place. And if you need a men's haircut, that can be a nice place where you can get a little bit more pampered than a quick cut place and having a little more of the attention to, getting a shave or whatever it is that you're needing. Next, you have kind of the lower end kind of all-purpose salons. So this might be something you find like Walmart Smart Style, or just more of those salons that may not charge as much, but they still offer all the services. So that sometimes can be like mom and pop shops where the lady owns it and she just has, a couple people working for her. They could be more chains. Sometimes those salons, like in the mall and stuff, can be a little less expensive. Sometimes not. It just depends. But then you're going to have some that are like a little bit higher end. They're not quite to the luxury price range. And that's where I ended up working. I started out in a salon that was not high end, but it was just like a nice full service salon. And I took clients right away. I didn't assist or anything like that, but I worked with a owner who was really good at hair, had a lot of experience, and she was kind of a mentor to me if I had any questions or anything. And I liked starting out in that. I didn't want to go and do a lot of haircuts because that's just wasn't my passion. My passion has always been color and styling and updos, and so I wanted to find a salon that did all those things. So that's why I chose more of your full service salon. When you are building a clientele and you're in like a family full service type salon, don't turn away people because you feel like it's not trendy. Like, your bread and butter clients are going to be great coverage. Sometimes you're going to have ladies who come in and get their blowouts weekly, or their hairstyled weekly, and you might think, oh, this is such a pain. I want to be doing balayages all day. It takes a long time to build a specific type of clientele. Don't turn away people because you feel like, even if somebody comes in and they want the most ridiculous haircut, like, my job is to make them happy. And maybe it's not something I post all over my Instagram, but I want to make them happy. And that is the most important part. If you're coming into a salon and you're unsure of what you want, and you're meeting with a new stylist, be patient, because we're trying to figure out you, you're trying to figure out us, and bringing pictures that look like what your hair can do is a good thing. So when you're looking at someone's picture, you want to make sure, what is it that they're seeing? What is it that they like about it? And just have a good consultation. That will really help when you feel like your stylist is listening to you, and when your stylist is listening to you, that helps build that relationship between client and stylist, and it helps you build your clientele faster. Then you're going to go into more of a luxury salon. That's going to be where you're going to find a lot more assistants. You're going to have more specialists. So you might have someone who just does color, someone who just does haircuts. You might come for an appointment and someone's going to drape you and wash you, someone's going to cut you, someone else is going to blow dry you, and you might not spend a lot of time with your individual stylist, but everybody has their craft down to an art, and everybody is doing a specific task. And it can be a great place if you want to work into a luxury salon. It can be a great place to start there as an assistant. And a lot of times they'll have you assist for 1 to 2 years. And, sometimes you can start taking a little bit of clients on the side, but you can work under these amazing artists that have so much skill. And a lot of times they're educators and they have so much passion for the industry, and hands-on, you can see how they're applying the color, how they're cutting the hair, all these things. And you can work side by side with helping with application or helping with mixing. You can learn their formulation techniques. You don't tend to make as much money doing that right off, just because they are the main artist, so they're going to be getting paid the most. But it's a great way to really learn and dive in. It can be frustrating for some people to feel like they can't take their own clients, but if you want to work in a luxury salon and really make your way up the chain that way, it's probably best to start in more of an assisting place. Now, there are some really nice benefits to having a more high-end salon. You're going to have more high-end services. You're going to have a great atmosphere. They'll offer more things like color corrections and I offer color corrections, but maybe not all salons do. You know, microblading and extensions and getting your nails done, massages, and you are gonna typically find more seasoned stylists there. Not always. Sometimes I've seen girls straight out of school and I'm like, seriously, what? But you are gonna pay more for those things. I mean, it's just the bottom line. You know, the basic services are gonna be more expensive, and you are paying for the environment and the name, and you're gonna get more training a lot of times too. If you work in a luxury salon, you can make more money. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out if you're charging $10 for haircuts or if you're charging $75 for haircuts. You're gonna make more charging $75, but you gotta make sure that your talent is with it. Like, I have no problem with someone charging $75 for haircuts, but man, if I'm paying $75 a haircut, it better be the best haircut I've ever had. So it's okay to raise your prices and move up salons, but make sure it goes along with what you feel comfortable with. If someone's paying $10 for a haircut, they're gonna be a little more lenient if you are a little shaky or it's not perfect. If someone's paying $75, they expect pretty much perfection. So, you know, that's kind of where you're at. So kind of choose someplace that you feel comfortable. I always say, I pick a salon that I feel like I would be drawn to. If you're someone who only goes to great clubs, go there. If you would only go to a high-end luxury salon, start there. Go someplace that you feel like you would go to, naturally what you would be willing to pay, and I feel like you're gonna feel the most comfortable there. Next, you're gonna have salons where it's a studio rental. So you are the owner of your little studio. You might pay to rent like a room, and it's not a room that has all the other stylists in it. You might have like a little tiny salon, and there might be little salons next to you, and you could just be like Studio B or Studio whatever, and you have your own space. You set it up your own way, but you rent it, so you don't have the cost of overhead as much as far as maintaining a building, but you have your own space. And that can be really nice for seasoned artists who don't want to deal with a huge salon and all the drama that comes with it, just having their own personal space. And then you can have home salons. And I feel like home salons get a bad rap, but I'm a little biased because I have a salon in my home. You can be just as great of an artist anywhere that you want to be, as long as you are continuing your education, staying on top of the trends, and using the best products available to you. I don't think you can do hair bad. Now, a lot of times you think of home salons as somebody cutting hair in their kitchen and washing your hair in the kitchen sink. That's not what I do. I have a salon in my house that has a sink and a dryer, and it has a whole shelf of all the colors, and I carry a bunch of different lines, and I'm always learning and watching videos and online tutorials on different techniques so I can always improve my craft. And so that's something I'm passionate about. So that is also another option. I wouldn't suggest this for somebody who is starting out, but it is an option if you have more experience. Now, just for my own story, the reason why I decided, now I have been commission based for 5 years. I have been in a booth rental salon for 1 year, and I have had my own home studio for, oh my gosh, see, 4, 5, 8 years. 8 years I've had my own home studio. I've had 2 different home studios. I love my home studio. So I have a little more opinions about this because this is what I've done the longest. So with a home studio, you're gonna have the initial cost of setup. You're gonna have to pay for everything. I paid for the walls. I paid for the ceiling to be put in. I actually did a lot of it myself. You know, you pay for everything. You're gonna spend thousands of dollars to invest in it. So make sure you do a good job, make it how you want it. The nice thing about having it in my home is that I get business write-offs that I can write off a portion of my home. I can write off a portion of my bills and all those kinds of things because it's in my home. And as a stylist, there's so many beauty related products and things that I can write off because I'm a hairstylist. I have the ultimate flexibility. Now, I don't have clients that take advantage of that, and I'm really good. Like, if I don't have time, I don't have time. I don't have people coming over to my house, knocking on my door. People are always worried about that. Like, oh, are people just gonna come and knock on your door? Not for me. They don't. My clients know my schedule. They know that if I can work them, I will. And I'm just firm about it. Like, it's just no like, oh, and if you have somebody who's always pressuring you to do them on your time off and you say yes, they will always do that. So you just have to be firm and say, this is what I'm willing to work. And if you make an exception for holidays or a funeral, whatever, you have to say exception, and that's the way it is. I love that my clients have personal space. There's no drama. No drama. I can't tell you how many years I spent with drama in a salon. Well, 6 years with drama in a salon. But I love no drama. I love that I can give my client 100%. 100%. I don't choose to double book unless they're related, but you could honestly have a home salon and have 2 chairs, and you could just, have your own little environment. You can do basically whatever you want, and I just love that. I love that there's no commute. I love that I get to see my family in between my clients. I love that if I get no-showed, then I can just do something else and I don't have to worry about wasting time in the salon. I love that I don't have to worry about anyone touching my stuff, that everything is exactly where I left it. I can use any product line I want. I mean, there are definitely more pluses for me than negatives. Now, I will say the home salons are not for everyone. And they're not for every client. You are going to have to put it together. You have to have a vision of what your salon can be. Both salons I've had, the rooms were like either not finished or there wasn't a lot to work with. I had to make that vision myself and create it. So you have to have a good vision. You have to be self-motivated and you have to book because no one's going to make you work. No, you're not paying every day like you are booth rent. So you have to be self-motivated. You have to be able to set firm hours, set client boundaries, those kinds of things. You have to realize that some clients are not going to like coming to your house. Some people do not like mixing that. It's just too weird for them. They don't want to do it. Sometimes people have a separate interest. Some people don't. People don't really walk through my house. They come in the door, they walk down the stairs, and my salon's right there. So some people I've been to, though, that have had home salons, you like literally walk in their front door, through their front room, their kitchen, you're like, hey, everybody, and then you go downstairs. My other salon actually had a completely separate entrance. So there's lots of ways to do it. I have hair in my house. It's annoying because there's hair on me and it travels and I have to vacuum my carpet a lot because it's hairy. It's part of life. But ultimately for me to feel like I get to be home, especially with my kids being older, you know, I can have someone be with little miss and you know what, my kids might come down occasionally and ask me a question. They might tell me how their day was at school. Most of my clients love that they feel like they're part of my family. Most of my clients love that they know my kids, and most of the time when I work during the day, my kids are home anyway, so it's not a huge deal. My one gripe about being a home stylist is, actually the main one is, I don't mind, like I have a playroom downstairs, and I allow people to bring their kids because I do kids' haircuts. If you bring your kids, just have them pick up the toys. That's my biggest gripe, is that people bring their kids and they make a mess and they don't clean things up. And then my kids are like, seriously, who cleaned it? Who made a mess in here? And I'm like, I'll take care of it. But other than that, I love my home salon. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about how stylists get paid. Now, first off, you're going to have commission-based salons. These are sometimes going to offer you an hourly minimum wage. I thought they always did, but the lady who just cut my hair said that she worked a salon where she did not get an hourly wage. It was just commission. So she had like 2 weeks where she only made like a couple $100 because she was starting out and she didn't have any clients. But typically, you know, you're going to have hourly minimum wages. Like Ulta salons pay an hourly minimum wage of $9, and then you can have like 40, 45, 50% commission depending on how long you've been there. You can work up the chain. The nice thing about doing this when they give you a minimum hourly wage is you're guaranteed something. You're guaranteed some money. Even if it's like $7.50, which is your minimum wage in your state, you're guaranteed that an hour. It's not a lot, and it's really disheartening to come out of school and pay all this money and make $7.50 an hour. But everybody has to start at the bottom. Everybody has to have those days where you're sitting in the chair, twiddling your thumbs on social media, trying to promote yourself. Everyone's been there. So you kind of have to start out that way. The nice thing about being in a commission salon is that typically the booking is done for you. You come in for the day, you have clients booked on your schedule, and you perform the services on the clients. It's nice because you have a management there to back you up. So if there's ever an issue, you can go to your manager or the owner and they can help you with formulation or client problems or anything like that. It's really nice to have someone else in your corner. They feed clients to you, so typically you're not having to advertise as much. Usually the salon advertises them and they get the call-ins and the walk-ins and then they disperse them throughout the stylist. It can be a little bit less flexible with hours. Like when I worked in a commission salon, I worked Tuesday through Friday from 10:30 to 8. So I took the later shift, accommodating those who were after work, who couldn't come in until 5 or 6 o'clock. And then I worked Saturday 9 to 5. So that was my schedule for 5 years when I worked in a commission salon. And if I didn't have anything booked at 5 o'clock, I couldn't just leave. Like I just stayed. Sometimes at 7:45, I'd be like, well, you don't have time for a haircut, so you can go ahead and go. But I usually stayed there till 7:30 just to make sure, because if someone came at 7:30, I was going to be there to cut their hair. The nice thing about that is when you stay, you're going to get clients. If you go home, you're not going to cut anyone's hair. There's no chance. It's over. But if you're staying in a salon, then you're going to be able to get people in the door. You're going to be able to cut their hair. And you might have to wait a couple hours to do it, but that is the way you build. Unfortunately, it's slow sometimes, but It is good. Now, commission salons have different rules about taking clients with you. A lot of times there's a non-compete. So if you start in a commission-based salon, make sure you know their rules on contacting your clients. Sometimes your formulas you're not allowed to take with you. I mean, mine are in my head, so you can't take them with me, but you know what I mean? Like, if you had a book or a computer system, you weren't able to like take all that information, take it with you. A lot of that is property of the salon. My salon was really nice. They let me take my clients with me. I kept my own formula book, so it really just depends on your salon, so make sure you know the rules there. So if you've ever been to a salon that's commission based, you probably didn't know, but if you walk in and you're like, oh, I'm here for my haircut with Kathy, and they're like, Kathy doesn't work here, and you're just like, why didn't Kathy call me? Why didn't Kathy tell me she was leaving? It could have been that she couldn't tell you where she was going and that she wasn't allowed to contact you. So that's why. So sometimes you feel dumped by your hairdresser. It's not that we're trying to dump you. It's just that literally our hands are tied and we weren't able to contact you and take you with us. Commission salons can also be competitive as far as you're going to have people that are trying to get your client in their chair. So if you answer the phone, you're going to be booking that client with you versus someone else answering the phone, they're going to be booking with them. Now, a lot of times the receptionist will do bookings, but if I was at the front desk and answer the phone, you better believe that client is getting in my chair. Also, you know, if you're not there and somebody calls it's your client, you run the risk of someone saying, oh, you know, she's not in today, but I can take care of you. So it can be a little competitive, especially depending where you work. So be wary if somebody calls and says, oh, your stylist isn't available, and they're trying to book you with them, and you're like, no, I really want the stylist. Just say you want that stylist. With commission-based salons, the more you make, the more you take home. So if you sell retail, you usually can get a commission off that. And if you're pumping people in and out of your chair, you're gonna make more money. It's really nice to be able to have a receptionist there because when you're busy, you can focus on your client. You don't have to worry about answering the phone. And typically, you know, depending on schedules, they will book it kind of evenly dispersed unless someone's asking for something specific that you offer. That's why it's nice to have stylists working different times and different days so that, you know, if there are Thursdays, you're the Thursday girl, whatever, you take on all the walk-ins on that day. And it's also nice to have a receptionist who can call and confirm your appointment. I know they have like little text services now, but back in the day, we didn't have that. And so the receptionist would usually call and say, hey, you know, you've got an appointment with Salon, blah, 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 and everything like that. And that really helped with no-shows and walk-ins. And please, if you go and get your haircut, do not just not come. Unless you're like in a car accident or you're giving birth or your child like has an emergency, like do not just not come. Just call and let them know you're not coming, because it's so horrible to sit there and think, how long should I wait? Are they coming in? I don't know. Anyway, but usually receptionists can take care of those things. So that's one nice thing about having a salon like that, is they can make those awkward phone calls and ask them, are you coming? Are you not coming? Commission-based salons, because you're an employee, sometimes, not often, sometimes you can find salons, especially corporation salons, that will offer benefits. And that can be such a blessing. If you are the breadwinner in your family, you need benefits, then I would encourage you to look into more of a commission-based salon. So a lot of times they'll offer some benefits, especially if you're working full-time, and that is awesome. Another nice thing about commission-based stylists is they take your taxes out of your earnings. So if you are working independently, you have to be self-employed, you have to take care of your taxes, you have to pay self-employment tax. If you're commission-based, they take care of that for you, they just pay you a check, you're good. So that is one nice thing. It makes it really easy, especially if you're just starting out. Now, usually with commission-based styling, the prices sometimes can be somewhat consistent. So that's why when some salons will post their prices and some salons won't, it'll say vary by stylist. It can still vary a little bit by stylist. Sometimes they'll have like junior stylists, like 1 to 5 years experience, you know, $25 haircut. Seasoned stylist, $35, whatever, $45. They'll have kind of tiered pricing for experience, and some salons won't. Some will just have, this is a price for a haircut, whether you've been out of school 2 weeks or you've been doing hair 20 years, this is our price. And a lot of people like salons like that because they know going up front what they're getting into. I know it's confusing for me when I call the salon. I wanted to book an appointment. I said, how much is it for a cut and color? And they're like, well, it depends who you go to. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Who do I want to go to? It's hard because you're not really familiar with the people. So you're like, I don't know. And it's hard to walk into a situation and not know how much you're going to be charged. So that's why if you don't know how much a service is going to cost, it would be great to ask them if they offer a free consultation, and you could go in and then you could talk about it. And then there's no surprises on how much everything costs. But that is one nice thing about a salon, is they usually have more consistent pricing. They can back you up, you know, so if you're like, hey, this is how much it costs, it's how much it costs. You don't have to worry about them trying to like lowball you because you're like, this is what the salon charges. I don't have any control over that. Well, now with commission-based salons, they provide all your back bar, they provide retail for you to sell, they provide color. So those are all things that is provided for you. You typically can't change. Like if you went into a salon and they use Paul Mitchell, you know, your owner might let you bring in other colors, but typically they're like, we're a Paul Mitchell salon, this is what we use. So you're going to use Paul Mitchell too. So make sure you choose a salon that has a color line that you use, whether you are going to get your hair colored or you work there. It's okay to call and say, what kind of color do you use? If you went to someone who had Redken and you loved it, you can call around and say, what kind of color do you guys use? And they can say, we use Redken. You'd be like, great, I want to come book an appointment here. In any salon that you work in, you'll typically have to bring your own scissors, your own combs, brushes, your flat iron, your curling iron, your round brushes, all that kind of stuff you have to provide, which you should have if you've gone to beauty school. It's also nice that you have other stylists there so you can have second opinions if you have a color correction and just to talk to and that kind of thing, keep you company if you're bored. If you're starting out and you're just sitting there hanging around, it's nice to have other stylists there to talk to. A lot of clients like having other people to talk to. That could be positive or negative depending on who the people are, of course, but it's nice to have a little bit of people there around you, especially when you're just starting out. Typically, when you go to a commission salon, you go up to the front desk, you pay them, they have the credit card machine, they cash you out, all those kind of things. They can book your next appointment. So that's one nice thing you don't have to worry about doing. You can just get started on your next client. The bad thing about it is you can't control who you work around. So if you have a stylist that you don't like, but you like your salon, you could be asked to move maybe to another station, but really you can't control your coworkers. So that is somewhat of a negative as far as, you know, if you work next to somebody who is rude or obnoxious or you just don't really agree with, or your personalities clash. I mean, you just have to learn to just be nice to everybody and have a good time. You usually can't refuse clients. I feel like, you know, when you're independent, you can be like, I'm not going to do that. But sometimes you get booked something and you're like, I don't want to do this. I know I did colors that I did not feel comfortable doing starting out, but I didn't feel like I could say no because it was something given to me. So I try to talk to the client and find something I felt comfortable doing, but it's hard because you don't have the control to just say, like, I'm not doing this, unless you talk to your manager and stuff like that. But sometimes it's hard because you just have to take whoever's there. Also, sometimes with commission-based salon, people come for the salon. So they're coming there because of the location, because of the price. You know, sometimes people say, I go to Salon K, you know, and if Amy moves away from Salon K, then I'll go to Jordan. If Jordan moves away from Salon K, then I'll go to Teresa. Like, they just go to that salon and they'll go to whoever is in that salon. And so it can be hard to build a clientele if people are like that, but it's still going to be a good place to build a clientele as long as they will let you take the clientele with you. Remember that. So booth rental. What's booth rental? Booth rental is basically where you have a big salon where everybody is basically an independent contractor. So they run their own business. They pay a fee, you know, say you pay $75 a day or whatever it is, or $50, and you rent the studio, and then everything that you make, you get to keep, and then you take care of paying your own taxes and everything like that. So that's why sometimes you go to a salon and they're a booth rental, then they'll just whip out their little square and you'll pay them and they handle all the things. They book appointments with you, you call them to book. So that's where it's a little bit different between commission-based salons and booth rentals. If you go and get your hair done by someone with a booth rental, sometimes people will be like, I didn't like my hair, I had it done at such and such place, and they'll say, well, talk to the manager. Well, it's kind of hard in a booth rental place because it's all independent. So there's not going to be like a particular manager. There might be an owner, but I mean, everybody is taking money separately, so that's why it makes it a little hard because everyone's basically their own independent little business inside one large business. The nice thing about this, you are your own business owner. You can set your own hours, you can set your own prices, which you have to be firm on so people aren't like, oh, well, I just need like a quarter of an inch. So is that still the same price as a haircut? I'm like, yes, I have to comb all of your hair and cut it all. It's the same price. There are some salons that do offer receptionist service, but that would be extra included in your booth rental. You usually provide your own color. Sometimes you're restricted on what color lines you can use in a specific salon. But basically, everything that would be provided for you in a commission-based salon, you have to provide for yourself. Sometimes they'll provide back bar and towels, but other than that, like, it's on you. You get to do what you want. You get to come and go as you please. And usually they give you a place to store your color, hopefully with a lock, because people will steal your color. Hashtag happened to me. But, you know, you have to take care of cashing out clients, credit cards, all that kind of stuff. you know, if you take checks and it bounces, which I don't really know many people take checks anymore, but if you did, that would be your problem. It's not going to go to the salon. The nice thing about being a booth rental is you can choose where you want to work. You can take your little bubble of clientele basically anywhere. If you work in a salon and you hate it, you can move to another one and just like take your stuff and move somewhere else, and you can retain your clients. You have your records. You're your own business entity. You can refuse clients. You can specialize in certain items. If you don't want to do perms, you don't have to do perms. Like, you can offer exactly what you want, set your own prices, hours, and use any products that you want. The only negative to being a booth renter is that you have to pay your fee no matter what. So if your booth rental is $50 a day, then if you don't go to work that day, you still have to pay $50. And if you want to take a vacation, you have to pay your rent for the entire week that you're gone. So you have to make sure you have enough clients coming in that you can make money. Because you don't want to have days where you're like, oh, hey, it's $50 for my booth rent, and I have one haircut and one blowout, and so I'm barely breaking even for the day. Like, that wouldn't really be a good decision. That makes sense. So, you know, if you're booking an appointment with someone who's a booth renter and they don't want to just do you on one random day, like, please, can you just do my hair, just squeeze me in, and they're like, no, I really can't just come in a random day. It's because if they come in on a random day just to do your hair and they pay booth rent, then they're basically paying to do your hair. That makes sense. Like, they'd have to pay extra to come in a special day. That makes sense now? Yes, that's why. I loved being a booth renter, and I liked being in my commission salon as well. I think they're all great choices depending on what you guys need out of your life. I know this is a really long video, and if you are just deciding to go to beauty school, or if you just graduated, you're thinking about moving salons, I hope this was helpful. But this is my last piece of advice. Don't let anyone else tell you that you can't. I stayed at a commission-based salon for 5 years because I was told that I would not make money being a booth renter and that I would always regret my decision. And when I moved out of that commission-based salon and I moved out on my own, it was the best decision I ever made. Not because of my boss, not because of who I worked with. I mean, it was just because I was finally in control of myself, and I loved it. I loved it. But my time as a commission stylist was so crucial to me. I learned so much. I grew so much as a stylist. I went to Las Vegas and went to Matrix Destination, and I had these amazing opportunities to get trained by Pureology and these other things that I loved, that put me on the right path so I could be a great independent stylist. Don't be discouraged. It takes time to build a clientele. Even right now, I quit when I was pregnant with Little Miss, and I like semi-retired, and now I'm starting to build up my clientele again. So you're always going to be building. You're always going to be progressing and learning, and you just really have to love it to make in this industry. So many times you see people who do hair a couple of years, they don't end up building clientele. They get worn out from the long days standing on their feet, their wrists are tired, they're getting carpal tunnel, their backs are hurting. I mean, it's a hard physical job, but if you love it, it is so worth it. At the end of the day, I'm so thankful that I have the opportunity to make my vision come to life, to make my clients happy, and to bring a little bit of brightness to other people. So that's a little bit of insider information about how the salon industry works. I hope you found this helpful, or if not, interesting at least, if you aren't a hairdresser or thinking of becoming a hairdresser. I know this video was so long. Thank you for your time and attention, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!